Draco Malfoy and the Truth of the Heart by Draco will hear about this. Chapter 4. Unexpected Reunions. Draco stood in front of the mirror the next morning, arranging his dress robes to his satisfaction, when his mother's voice drew him out of his own thoughts. "When have you become so handsome?" she muttered, leaning against the door frame as she watched him, a small nostalgic smile on her face. "I could swear just yesterday you were still that little boy with those two pointy features talking non-stop about that boy he met at school." Draco flushed, frowning at her. "And now I'm what?" he challenged. "A grown boy with two pointy features still talking non-stop about the same boy?" "No." His mother shook her head. "You've become an impressive young man who showed the strength and patience to go after what he wanted, and that included the love of his life." "You have to say that," Draco mumbled. "You're my mother." "Amos is right," his mother noted a little sadly. "You really can't accept compliments at all." Draco blinked, unsure how to respond, but apparently she didn't expect an answer. Instead, she crossed the room until she stood by his side, touching his shoulder. Draco turned to face her, allowing her to fuss over him. "I'm very proud of you, you know," she said, her tone serene. "I'm not sure why you're not proud of yourself, but I know that I have an exceptional and unique son, and I wouldn't trade you for the world." "I don't—" Draco frowned, feeling disconcerted at the turn of this conversation. "Don't." His mother shook her head, smiling and smoothing his hair back. "Just accept my words as they are, for once." Draco fell silent, frown still in place, feeling utterly out of his depths. "What is this?" his mother asked suddenly, frowning as she reached out to touch the stone on his necklace. Draco blinked, gathering himself. "Dumbledore left it to me," Draco muttered. "Apparently it was a black family heirloom. It's called the Truth of the Heart, and when you hold it and think of a loved person, you can catch glimpses of them wherever they are at the moment." "I have heard of this before," his mother breathed, her eyebrows risen in surprise. "My mother told me about it, though I've never actually seen it before. It was considered dangerous within my family, as you can imagine. Families tended to stick together or could easily travel back and forth by magical means, so the only time anyone had any real motivation to use it was when they were in an unhappy marriage and in love with someone unsuitable." "Oh," Draco said, eyes widening. "So that explains the name. I wondered." "Exactly," his mother nodded. "The use to which the wearer would put it usually revealed a lot about them, sometimes more than they could ever say in public." She hesitated before meeting his eyes. "May I?" Draco nodded, pulling the necklace over his head and handing it to his mother. She studied it for a long moment before putting it on herself and holding the stone in her palm, eyes closed. Draco watched her face closely, wondering if she was looking for his father. The thought made him feel strange. Finally, she opened her eyes again, examining the stone and tracing it with gentle fingers. "This is a very precious gift," she said. "You should be grateful to Dumbledore. When did he give it to you?" "Scrimgeour turned up with the Weasleys last night," Draco explained. "It seemed like the 31 days were up and the Ministry had to give up what Dumbledore left us, if they wanted to or not." Narcissa's mouth twisted. She had often voiced her opinion on the Ministry's practices regarding confiscation of heirlooms. She did not comment further this time, though, as she handed Draco the necklace once more. "I'm sure it will give you lots of solace on your mission," she said instead. "You're leaving tomorrow morning?" "Yes," Draco nodded. "Harry's already getting antsy. We can't delay him any longer." "Be careful," Narcissa smiled. "Promise me you won't take any unnecessary risks." "Mother, you'll see me before I take off," Draco reminded her. "There's no need for goodbye speeches yet." "I know, but there's the wedding today, and who knows when you'll be back, and I'm sure you'll leave early tomorrow, so I want to say this now, when we have a quiet moment," she said with calm determination. "Our family has always had a knack for surviving, you might say, so I won't ask you to come back to me, because deep down I know you will. I will see you again when all this is over, but please, be as safe as you can. You have a tendency to devote yourself completely to protecting the people you love, and that's a marvelous quality. You have no idea how much I adore that side of you. But please, don't forget to take care of yourself as well. I'm sure your Harry would appreciate that as well."
"All right," Draco muttered. "I'll try my best." He bit his lip before adding very quietly, "I'm sorry for leaving you behind, Mother." She frowned.
"What are you talking about, darling?"
"I'm well aware you left Father only because of me," Draco shrugged. "And now I'm taking off with Harry. I know it's selfish in me, but—"
"Draco, stop." She cut him off. "I left your father because I wanted to give you your best chance, and it was the right thing to do. I haven't regretted it for a moment. Truly selfish would be if I now stood in the way of what is best for you, simply because I want you by my side." She reached out to once raise his cheek with her thumb, very gently. "A good mother knows when to let go," she told him very seriously. "Your path is with him, and mine isn't, and that's okay. We'll find our way back to each other. I know it."
"I love you," Draco whispered, his chest tight.
"I love you too, my little dragon."
She smiled, and Draco allowed himself to be pulled into a tight motherly hug. They only broke apart when Dora called his name from the kitchen, announcing her and Remus's arrival. "I have to leave," Draco sighed, straightening up.
"Have fun, and say hello and congratulations from me." His mother smiled, straightening his dress robes once more before stepping away. "Now go and turn your boyfriend's head."
Draco rolled his eyes, but he was smiling as he left the room, joining the rest of his family in the kitchen. Dora was perched up against the counter, snacking on some leftover breakfast scones, and Draco snorted as he saw her. "You'd think there isn't any food at the wedding," he commented, making Dora grin. "Yes, but who knows when?" she whined, rather dramatically. "It's a Weasley event," Remus commented with a smile. "I'm sure we don't have to worry about food." "Well, don't you look dashing," Andromeda commented, her eyes on Draco. "Sissy, your boy is really quite a sight."
"He is, isn't he?"
his mother agreed smugly, taking a seat next to her sister and twinkling.
"He wouldn't believe me when I told him."
Draco rolled his eyes and ignored them. "Let's get going," he said to Remus, and Dora regretfully dropped her half-eaten scone. "Have fun, kids," Ted smiled at them. "Give the Weasleys our warmest regards and the bride and groom our congratulations." "Aye, aye," Dora nodded, saluting her father. "See you tonight when we drop Draco off." "You know, I'm of age," Draco commented. "I can apparoot myself, technically." "You're my baby cousin," Dora grinned. "Shut up and let me babysit you." Remus laughed, and Draco rolled his eyes. He did hold out his arm for her to link it with hers for the side-along apparition. "See ya," Dora called, and then there was a pulling sensation around his navel, and Andromeda's kitchen dissolved around them. They appeared in the Weasley's garden in front of the huge tent they had erected for the wedding. Guests were already streaming into it, and Fred and George were busily showing some of Fleur's Ville cousins to their seats. Weasley and what looked like one of his relatives lingered near the entrance, and the three of them headed there first. "Watch her," Dora grinned, making the boys turn to face them, and the moment they did, the unknown Weasley cousin's eyes widened, and he stared at Draco, looking a little as if he'd been hit over the head with a beater's bat. Draco felt slightly unnerved. "Hey," Draco said, looking at Weasley, "where's Hermione and—" He cut himself off, knowing that Harry's presence here today was supposed to be a well-guarded secret. "Hermione and Jenny are still inside getting ready," Weasley answered, eyebrows raised. "And your other half is currently staring at you like a nut job with his jaw hitting the floor." Draco blinked and finally turned back to the unknown Weasley cousin, who had flushed all over and was now glaring viciously at Weasley. Now he could see a bit of Harry in him, though maybe he was imagining it. "Oh," he said a little sheepishly. "Hi, love. Sorry." "Not your fault," Harry muttered, clearly embarrassed. He was tall in this body, taller than he usually was, had short ginger curls, brown eyes, and freckles. "You didn't know what I would look like." He cleared his throat. "You look nice." Draco felt hot all over and cleared his throat too, fumbling nervously with his sleeves. "What is it with everyone today?" he muttered. "You'd think I'd never worn dress robes before." "Stop arguing your own gorgeousness, Draco. It's getting old." Dora elbowed him, effectively ending the discussion. By the way, Harry, I'm sorry we took off so suddenly last night. As Dora explained the reason for their departure in the face of the minister's visit, though, Draco was distracted by an arm slung around his shoulder and turned to find none other than Ryan at his side, grinning at him. "Hey there, Captain," he greeted him. "What are you doing here?" he demanded, a smile spreading over his face. "I'm the bridesmaid's class 1. He shrugged. "You didn't think Jenny would suffer through this day without a date, did you?" "She could have mentioned inviting you," Draco complained, though he felt rather thrilled to have another friendly face around. "She probably wanted to mess with you, knowing her," he chuckled. "Sounds like her," Draco nodded. "So how has your summer been?" "Uneventful," Ryan shrugged. "Yours?" "A little too eventful." Draco rolled his eyes and Ryan grimaced. "Have you heard from anyone else?" "Yarika and I have been writing back and forth, but she's coming today as well, so you can interrogate her yourself." "She's coming too?" Draco asked, surprised. "Yep," he confirmed. "Luna is bringing her. She and her dad are invited." "Maybe I should have stuck around more for the wedding preparation, then I would know this stuff, I think," Draco mused. "But then again, I was banned from the burrow for the last couple of days." "Oh?" Ryan smirked. "How did you manage that?" "Never you mind." Draco rolled his eyes. "Fine, be like that," Ryan huffed. "Jen will tell me later. By the way, where's your permanent shadow?" "Wouldn't you like to know?" Draco said ominously, and Ryan pouted. "This whole secrecy thing is lame," he pointed out. "I will find him eventually. I'm good at riddles." "You're just big-headed, is what you are," commented a third voice, quite rightfully in Draco's opinion, and with it, Eureka appeared next to them hand in hand with an absent-mindedly humming Luna. "Do you always have to insult me, Anita?" Ryan complained, putting his free hand to his chest in mock hurt. "I thought I was your best friend." "You're just the first person I had the misfortune of speaking to at Hogwarts, and I never got rid of you after," she deadpanned, but she was smiling. "Hello, Draco," Luna hummed, blinking at him. "I heard you standing with Harry. He's looking quite unhappy over there." Draco closed his eyes and took a deep, calming breath. Of course, no one had factored in Luna Lovegood. "Where?" Ryan asked, craning his neck. "Where is he, Luna?" Luna was just about to open her mouth, but Eureka must have seen the alarm in Draco's eyes because she jumped to his aid, calling, "Look, sweetie, there are gnomes over there!" Luna held in, her eyes following the direction Eureka was indicating. "Where?" she asked, sounding excited. "There, come on, let's have a look." And with a wink at Draco, Eureka led them off towards the bushes, effectively saving Harry from identification. "Wait," Ryan muttered, sounding disappointed. "Where is he? Tell me!" Draco snorted and patted his shoulder. He looked over to where Weasley and Harry were still standing with Dora and Remus. They had been joined by another wizard with long blonde hair and strange attire, most probably Luna's father. His suspicion was confirmed when Luna returned a moment later, Eureka in tow, excitedly telling him, "Daddy, look! One of the gnomes actually bit me!" Mr. Lovegood then expedited upon a lecture on the benefits of gnome saliva on a wizard's health, and Draco quickly stopped listening. They soon left to find their seats, along with Remus and Dora, though Ryan lingered, claiming to wait for Ginny. Weasley glowered at him all the while, but he seemed quite unperturbed by the hostility. A couple more people stopped to chat, most of them Weasley's relatives. They finally met the famous Aunt Muriel, a meeting that Draco could have done without, to be quite honest. But who was he to judge difficult relatives? Amongst everyone who inquired, Harry was introduced as Cousin Barney, and no one seemed to question the cover. The Weasley family seemed too big for anyone to remember each and every distant relative. They had just survived Muriel, though, as Hermione and Ginny finally graced them with their presence. Weasley greeted Hermione with an earnest, "You look great!" making Hermione flush in surprise and pleasure. Ryan, too, perked up at the sight of his girlfriend, grinning as he called, "Hi, gorgeous!" "Hey, yourself!" Ginny grinned, standing on her toes to kiss him. She was lucky that Weasley was distracted with Hermione. "Hi, Draco!" She smiled at him as she pulled away. "Well done, you clean up nicely. Don't roll your eyes at me, mister!" Draco snorted, shaking his head. "You look great too, Jim," he said. "You bet I do!" She smirked, making Draco laugh. He turned to Hermione next and threw an arm around her. She smiled up at him softly. "I love your dress," he said. "Thanks," she said. "You look great too. Harry can't take his eyes off you." Draco wriggled his nose and Hermione elbowed him. "So should we go find our seats?" she suggested. "Most people seem to be here already, right?" "I'd say so," Draco nodded, judging from the number of empty seats. Oh, a deep, familiar voice said from behind them, making both of them freeze and turn slowly. They were greeted by a tall, dark-haired man with thick black eyebrows that were curved in sheepish amusement, his face far more mature than when Draco had last seen him, but still clearly recognizable. Surprise! Victor! They called together, voices high and loud, and he laughed at their reaction. Draco immediately moved to pull him into a hug, and Victor huffed out a surprised breath but squeezed him back tightly. What are you doing here? Draco demanded, pulling away. Why didn't you tell me you were coming? We exchanged letters like a week ago. Fleur invited me. He shrugged, and I wanted to surprise you. Well, you certainly managed that. Hermione breathed, nervously brushing back her hair. Draco noted that her face was very flushed. How are you? Good. Victor smiled at her. Very good, actually. I just signed the contract with Canada for next season. I got bored with Germany. Congrats! Draco grinned. Which team? The Newfoundland Puffins in St. John's. Victor shrugged. They are top 3 in America and record champion in Canada. They pay good money and I like the climate and the people. Good for you! Draco nodded, silently relieved that his friend would be so far away from the war raging in Europe. Thanks, Victor said, catching his eyes. As always, you are welcome to visit whenever you want or need. Thanks, we'll keep it in mind. Draco nodded, though it was a blatant lie, and he thought Victor knew that very well. So, Victor said, glancing towards the tent's entrance for a moment, frowning and directing his eyes towards them once more. Your friend isn't happy to see me. Hermione and Draco both turned to see Weasley and a polyjuiced Harry lingering a few feet from them, clearly waiting, seeming impatient and displeased. Weasley's ears were red in a clear sign of agitation, and Harry seemed strangely exasperated as well, which threw Draco a little. Don't mind him, Hermione said quickly. He's just... She didn't complete her sentence, though, instead biting her lip, clearly conflicted. Draco decided to put her out of his misery. Why don't I show you to your seat? Draco offered, clasping his hand on Victor's shoulder. I'll join you later, Hermione. Hermione nodded, appearing both relieved and guilty as she joined up with Weasley and Harry. Draco, meanwhile, led Victor into the tents, stealthily ignoring the way he could feel Harry staring after them. Are they together now? Victor asked, nodding towards the group they had just left behind. Hermione and... Still can't pronounce the name, huh? He laughed, shaking his head fondly. I know they aren't together exactly, but... They're pretty much the definition of it's complicated. Draco sighed. I'm sorry, she would have been better off with you, to be honest. Don't apologize. Victor shook his head. She's wonderful, and I'll always have a weakness for her, but I haven't been... How do English say? Pining? Over her for the past 2 years. I have moved on, Draco. It's okay if she did too. Well, that's good then. Draco smiled. This might be uncomfortable enough without you moping. No offense. Victor laughed, shaking his head, and they reached his row, Draco indicating the free seat in the middle. Let's chat some more after the ceremony, he said earnestly. I really want to catch up. Oh, definitely. Victor nodded. You'll still owe me a drink after all. I do? Draco asked, raising an eyebrow. Yes, Victor smirked. I mean, I was right about you and Potter, wasn't I? Draco muttered, flushing. Yeah, right, I'd forgotten about that. Well, I'm a man of honor, so it's my treat of free on the house drinks today. Victor snorted, rolling his eyes as Draco grinned innocently. Where's your boyfriend, by the way? He asked, suddenly looking around. Is he not here today? Oh, he's disguised, for security reasons, Draco muttered, grimacing. Sorry. Don't worry. Victor shook his head. It must be difficult. Tell him I said hello. I will. Draco nodded, and Victor clasped him on the shoulder and turned to enter his row. Draco watched him go and then made his way over to where Hermione, Weasley, and Barney were taking their seats somewhere in the second row. He slipped in between Harry and Hermione, the latter, who was in deep conversation with Weasley, and turned to his disguised boyfriend to whisper, Victor says hello, though he doesn't know you're you. Harry only hummed, not meeting his eyes, and Draco frowned. What's wrong? He asked. I thought Weasley was the one who felt unjustly wronged by Victor. It's not unjustly. Harry frowned. He dated the girl Ron likes. You still hate Cho. I have my reasons for hating Cho Chang, and you know that, Draco hissed. Victor, though, has always treated Hermione like a queen. He has never been anything but decent towards us, and he even threw his cards when he realized he wasn't going to win Hermione's heart in the long run. He's never done anything to earn anybody's ire. You sure think the world of him, Harry muttered. Draco stared at him, taken aback. Are you jealous? He asked, shocked. When Harry didn't answer, Draco guessed. Oh, Marlin, he muttered, incredulous. Harry! Shut it, he hissed, throwing him an exasperated look. I don't understand, Draco deadpanned. How is Salazar's name? I don't want to talk about this, Harry grumbled. Victor has been rooting for us from day one, Draco pointed out, feeling slightly hysterical. I lost a bloody bet against him that we'd end up together. He's as straight as they come, so how? He was the first person apart from me you've been connected with, Harry grabbed out in a rush, and I didn't really understand it back when it happened. I hated it. I didn't know why back and forth the year, but I didn't want to share you. Now, I know why. Draco shook his head, feeling like he dropped into an alternate universe. It was one thing to know that Harry had been jealous of Patil, who had actively pursued him. That he was now jealous of Victor, who was as much of a threat as a flapperworm to a basilisk. Draco couldn't wrap his mind around. You do know, Draco said in a voice that suggested he was talking to a 3-year-old, that Victor has never been a danger to you, not since day one. So it's a coincidence that the only time you really broke with me was through 4th year, when he was around? Harry challenged. Actually, yes, Draco replied, eyes wide. He had nothing to do with it. He tried to talk me into forgiving you. I'm sure he did. Harry, you're acting a little crazy. Can you really blame me? Harry hissed, glaring at him. We're at this wedding with you looking all gorgeous and everyone's busy ogling you. Even Fleur de Villa cousins, and then your international Quidditch star friend turns up and you just jump into his arms. And I'm here in this stupid disguise and can't even hold your hand, or else my cover will blow. Draco gulped, watching him silently as Harry took a few gulps of breath, his jaw set. Feeling better now? He asked finally. No, he said stubbornly. I'm sorry you feel neglected and, I dare say, threatened, though I'm still not quite sure why. Draco frowned, shaking his head. When you're well aware that my heart has always belonged exclusively to you, you stupid possessive fool. Harry's expression at last softened at those words, and he glanced up at Draco. The guilty look in those unfamiliar brown eyes was so strangely Harry that it was stunning. Sorry, he muttered. I guess I am acting a bit mental. You are, Draco confirmed, smiling. Good thing that I'm too gone on you to mind much. Harry snorted, shaking his head. I really wished I could hold your hand right now, he muttered, and kiss you. Yeah, well, Draco sighed, a little regretful. It's only one night, hold on. Their conversation was then cut short by the music starting up and the ceremony starting. Draco watched the proceeding with a mixture of curiosity and an unexpected sense of tightness in his chest. Curiosity because, though this was by far not his first wedding attendance, the ceremony was far less formal than anything he had ever been party to. He should have expected this, naturally. After all, the Weasleys, while pure-blooded and technically part of the Sacred 28, was not pure-blood elitist, and therefore did not take place in the ridiculous rituals Draco had grown up in. Instead, the ceremony was emotional and warm-hearted, making Draco feel strangely shaken as he watched it unfold before him. As a child, he had only ever thought of marriage as part of the Malfoy heritage. He would have to find an appropriate, pure-blooded wife and uphold the bloodline. Love had been a secondary consideration in that equation. That had only changed with the introduction of Harry into his life, but even then he hadn't really allowed himself to think of marriage in relation to himself. First, because he was in love with a boy, and obviously that would be one step too far even for his mother. Then because Harry would never return his feelings. And because Harry was the bloody chosen one, and who knew if he even survived this war, and even if they did, there was no telling how he would feel about him at that point, and... Harry's knee pressed against Draco's, making him look up and meet the other's gaze. The expression on Harry's polyjuiced face was strangely intense and harder to read than usual, but there was definitely longing there, and it made Draco's breath catch. It was hard to concentrate on the rest of the ceremony with the heat of Harry's leg pressed against his so steadily.